Level 1. You wake up like any other morning. Alarm. Snooze. Alarm again. You stumble to the bathroom, splash water on your face, and look in the mirror. And then you hear it. I really don't want to go to work today. You spin around. Nobody's there. You live alone. You shake it off. Stress, maybe. Too little sleep. You grab your keys and head out the door. And that's when your entire life changes. Level 2. On the subway, you're packed in with strangers. Like always. Headphones in. Eyes down. Then, a voice. Clear as someone sitting right next to you. If he texts me one more time, I'm blocking him forever. You look up. A woman across the car is staring at her phone, expression completely blank. She hasn't said a word out loud. You pull out one earbud. Another voice. Different person. Older man by the door. Forgot to pay the electric bill again. 3rd time this month. He's reading a newspaper. Lips not moving. Your heart starts hammering. You look at a teenager near the window. Hoodie up, eyes closed. Nobody knows I got into Colombia. I haven't told my parents yet. You get off 2 stops early. You need air. Standing on the sidewalk, surrounded by the morning rush, every single person walking past you is a radio station you didn't ask for. I hate my boss. She doesn't love me anymore, and I know it. I should have been a chef. Did I lock the front door? Hundreds of voices, all at once, getting louder and louder, until you press yourself against a wall and squeeze your eyes shut. This isn't stress. This isn't sleep deprivation. Something happened to you. Level 3. By the time you reach the office, you've figured out how to turn the volume down. Slightly. Focus on one person at a time, the way you'd tune into one conversation in a crowded room. And honestly, at first, it's incredible. Your coworker Marcus sits down next to you and smiles. Morning. I hope he doesn't ask about the Johnson report. I completely forgot. Hey, you say casually. How's the Johnson report coming? His face goes white. You spend the next hour knowing exactly what every meeting is really about. Your manager says the quarterly numbers need work. What he's actually thinking is, 2 people are getting laid off and I've already decided who. You make a mental note to look busy. At lunch, your friend calls to vent about her boyfriend. You already know what she's going to say before she says it, because you heard his version of the story this morning when he walked past your building. You feel like a cheat code for life has been unlocked. But then, you hear something you weren't supposed to. Level 4. It comes from your closest friend at work, someone you've known for 3 years, someone you trusted completely. You're walking past her desk, barely paying attention, when her thought hits you like ice water. He still doesn't know it was me who reported him to HR last year, and he never will. You stop walking. Last year, an anonymous HR complaint nearly cost you your job. You spent months trying to figure out who filed it. You were told it was an external source. It was her. You sit at your desk and say nothing. You smile when she waves at you. You laugh when she makes a joke at lunch. But something inside you has shifted permanently. Because here's what nobody tells you about hearing the truth. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it locks you in a room with someone you can never look at the same way again. And you have to pretend the door is still open. Level 5. By day 3, the ability is no longer exciting. It's exhausting. You hear your neighbor's 3 a.m. anxieties through the wall. You hear the cashier's grief. She lost someone last week and is holding it together by a thread. You hear your own mother's voice when you call her on the phone. I hope he can't tell I've been crying. I don't want to worry him. Mom, you say quietly. What happened? A long pause. Then she breaks down and tells you something she's been hiding for 2 months. A health scare she didn't want to burden you with. You're grateful you heard it. But it came with a cost. Because now you realize there's no off switch. every conversation from this point forward comes with a second, hidden conversation running underneath it, and you can't unhear any of it. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, you hear something that stops your blood cold. Level 6. You're in a coffee shop, trying to work, when two men sit down at the table behind you. Suits, calm voices, ordinary conversation about golf and traffic. But underneath it, the transfer clears Friday. By the time anyone notices the accounts are empty, we're already gone. And then the second man, stirring his coffee without blinking. What about the woman who works in compliance? She's been asking questions. First man, completely calm. She won't be asking questions much longer. You don't move, you don't breathe. You're sitting one table away from two men casually thinking about making someone disappear, and they have no idea you can hear every word of it. You look down at your laptop, type nothing. One of them glances over at you. That guy's been sitting there a while. Is he listening? You laugh at something on your screen that isn't funny. Take a sip of your coffee like you have absolutely nowhere else to be. Nah, just some guy. You wait exactly 4 minutes after they leave before you walk, not run, to the door. Level 7. You find the compliance woman. It takes 2 days, a name overheard, a company identified, a LinkedIn search. You don't know how to warn her without sounding insane. Two men in a coffee shop were thinking about silencing you is not a sentence that ends well for the person saying it. So you send an anonymous email, vague but urgent. Be careful. Someone knows you've been asking questions. Don't go anywhere alone this week. You don't know if she reads it. You don't know if it helps. But 2 days later, you see a news alert. A financial fraud case, 2 men arrested, a whistleblower protected. Her name isn't mentioned, but you recognize the company. She made it. You did that. And for one brief moment, the ability feels like a gift again. Then your phone rings. Unknown number. You answer. Silence. And then a voice you don't recognize, low and deliberate. We need to talk about what you can do. Your stomach drops. Who is this? Someone who's been able to do it longer than you. Level 8. You meet them. Public place. Your choice. A park bench in broad daylight. She's older than you expected. Calm. Tired looking. The way someone looks when they've been carrying something heavy for a very long time. She doesn't explain how she found you. She already knows you won't ask, because you can hear her thoughts, and what she's thinking is, he already knows I'm not here to hurt him. He just doesn't know the rest yet. The rest of what? You ask out loud. She smiles, unsurprised. You're already that far along. Good. She tells you what she spent years learning. The ability doesn't stay at this level. It grows. Within months, you won't be able to filter it anymore. Not one voice at a time, not hundreds. Every mind within a half-mile radius, simultaneously, permanently. She knows because it happened to her, and she tells you about the others. A small number of people across the world with the same ability, all at different stages. Some chose isolation. Some lost their minds entirely. One, she says this quietly, asked someone to help them make it stop, permanently. Why are you telling me this? You ask. She looks at you for a long moment. Because you heard those men in the coffee shop, and you did something about it. That's the first time in 4 years anyone with this ability used it for someone else instead of running from it. So what do I do now? She stands up, ready to leave. You decide, she says, what it's for. Level 9. That night, you sit alone in your apartment. No TV, no music, just the quiet hum of the city outside your window. And underneath it, like a current you'll never stop feeling, the thoughts of everyone around you. Your neighbor worrying about rent, a stranger crying 2 floors up, a kid on the street below thinking about his first day of school tomorrow. All of it, pouring in without permission. You used to think the scariest thing in the world would be for someone to hear your thoughts. Now you know the truth. The scariest thing is hearing everyone else's and realizing that most people are just as afraid, just as lost, and just as desperate to be understood as you are. You pick up your phone. You don't call anyone. You don't text. You just sit with it. All of it. For the first time without flinching. Because here's what this ability really gave you. Underneath the betrayals, the secrets, the dangerous men in coffee shops, and the sleepless nights, it gave you the one thing most people spend their whole lives searching for. The absolute, undeniable proof that nobody, not a single person alive, has it all figured out. And somehow, in the middle of all that noise, that's the quietest you've felt in years.